Hey, yo, we good. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Sipping on No Common Sense. I am the host with the double O's Ghost Most Beyond, your boy Phil Myers, aka Kate Knocker, the great one. Back at it with my co-host,
Tiff.
T-I-F-F. What it is, what you know, motherfucker. Woo! Bars.
Woo!
I bought it for
rapping. Look at you.
So I can go fast. Shout out 21 Savage, man. Better than Tupac. We doing big things.
Oh, Lord. Here we go.
We are doing big things in the building. Thank y'all so much for tuning in again. We missed y'all.
Yeah.
Damn.
Right.
We missed y'all.
We did.
Man, yo, but we glad to be back at it.
Yes. Again.
Glad to be back at it. Before we get started, we got to send out a get well soon to Mrs. Yoder.
Yes.
We are praying for you, sweetheart. Thank you so much for all the love and support that you get at Sipping on No Common Sense. She is like one of our number one fans. Tiff, what the fuck is you doing?
I'm sharing the page.
So get well soon, Miss Yoder, man.
Yes, Miss
Phil and
Yoder.
Tiff, we
when
love
you.
feel
better, give you a shot of something. I don't
right,
know.
Man. We
right.
need right.
Smoke
We're gonna get you a
together.
bottle. We're gonna smoke a little something. We're gonna drink a little something. We're gonna hang the fuck out. You feel?
Can I come?
Yes, you can. Yes,
You're
you
gonna
can.
take it off.
She gonna like, oh, you ain't gonna drink that? No,
I got it.
The young lady whose voice y'all hear, we are gonna wrap up our breast cancer awareness show that we had going on. We gonna wrap it up, but we brought in a true soldier. We brought in a survivor. We brought in a young lady that fights like a girl. If you know what I'm saying, that supports. That's for the breast cancer awareness movement. What the fuck did you know?
Because your camera is not good.
What you mean my camera's not good? I got Samsung.
Yes, you do. Go ahead. Keep going.
Leave it alone.
I'm sorry.
Leave it.
Leave it.
Damn.
I'm always doing something fiery, Phil.
Anyways, like I was trying to say,
Right.
this young lady right here has been a survivor. We definitely look out to her. We thank you so much for coming. I'm talking about the one, the only, Miss Jerilyn. Leonard.
Oh,
wow.
shit.
Quite an introduction.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
Right. We love it.
She's like, damn, I wrote it.
Wow.
Miss Jerilyn, how are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule
Right.
to be a part of our show.
No
Right.
problem.
Thank you.
But I will say, I'm in trouble at home with the little ones because of you all.
Oh, I know. Trey waiting for
Right.
it.
Wow, what's up with the little
I'm
one?
not
Because-
supposed to leave the house.
Why? Why?
The three little guard dogs.
How old are they?
Trey's the king in there. Okay, don't get it twisted.
How old is the kids?
5, 4, and 2.
Oh, they little shit.
Yeah.
Man, hey, I will come over there and play y'all.
Not with them. Them ain't the regular kids. Them are superhero type kids. They
Don't play that shit.
jump on the couch. They be upstairs. Blink an eye. They be
At the same time.
upstairs.
At the same time.
Right.
Boy,
Shout out to Trey.
right,
Okay.
boy, what you got, boys and girls?
Trey, love you.
What you got, boys and girls?
I have 3 boys, and then my oldest, the tweenie, is a girl.
Oh shit, you got
She's
4
14, yeah.
Woo, goddamn!
Yeah.
You know what that
Don't
means?
say it. Don't
She's
say
there.
it, Phil.
If I'm not there,
I told you to behave.
So you got 4 kids.
I do.
Woo! You got that fire!
Kenny, I gave you the address.
Hey, Kenny, I mean, shit, don't be mad at me. I mean, shit, it is what it is.
Oh my God.
It is what it is.
I told no ass. Okay.
What?
I warned you
That's a compliment.
about the big dog.
That's a
Okay.
compliment.
Oh,
Hey, bro, I salute you, bro. Hey, I mean,
you're right. He gonna be looking for you. Okay. He gonna ask me all kind of information.
like, what the fuck does fire mean? What is he trying to say, guys? Look, trying to give you a compliment, dog. Relax.
Oh, Lord.
Chill, dog.
Right.
That's
Wait.
what it is, dog.
Which lie you want to hit a man with glasses, would you?
You wouldn't hit a man with glasses, would you, Mr. Military Man?
He would.
You got glasses be like this.
I scream like a bitch. Like, you want to get court-martialed, sir?
Oh, Lord.
Oh my God.
Shout out to Kenny, man. Shout out to
Yeah,
Kenny.
shout out to you.
Thanks
man.
for letting her come out the house and vibe with us. Thank
Yeah.
you so much. So, before we get started, for the people that may not know who you are
Right.
and where you from, tell us who you are, where you from, what high school you went to, where you graduated. We're going to need that bank account
That's a
number.
lot.
We're going to need
That's
that
a
social security number.
She ain't giving that. I tried.
We're going to need all that.
That's a lot.
Right. Oh my
Y'all
God.
laughing, I'm
Leonard,
dead.
I'm 31. I like long walks on the beach.
Okay. What are you, a Virgo? What are you? What's your sign?
Are we on a date? I'm a Virgo.
Oh, you a Virgo?
I'm a Virgo.
Oh, shit, Virgo.
Virgo's the same day.
Get the fuck out of here. When's your birthday?
August 29th?
Mine's the 25th.
Oh, okay. I thought it was
Okay.
29.
Same time.
Same time.
Right.
Virgo's in the building. Virgo.
Wow.
Gemini's, that's like triple.
Bush.
Okay.
Two-faced and crazy
Right.
as fuck.
That's not true. We're not true.
What high school did you go to?
Zion Benton.
Oh, we got a ZB in the building.
Right, two of them.
We ain't had a ZB in the building in a minute.
Right.
Shauna was just here 2 weeks
Right.
She wasn't here 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, she
Was
was.
she 2 weeks ago?
Big Shauna, yeah. Shout out to Shauna.
Shout out to Shauna.
That's all right.
They got a love show coming out. It's gonna be on VH1. What's the show called? Thick Love?
No.
It's something like that. Y'all make sure y'all tune in.
They gonna
VH1.
choke you.
Right.
I'm
I
dead
want
ass
no
serious. They got a.
I know they got,
show
but that's
coming out.
not what it's called. Okay.
What's it called?
I think it's just their name.
Rod and Shonda Stick Love. Hot love.
I would watch it.
Oh, Reese.
Hell yeah, I would watch that
You
shit.
nosy. All right.
Yeah, I would watch that shit with a bag of popcorn.
Right. I know you
Like
would.
they getting ready to do it now, y'all. Be
Ew.
careful.
Right. That's
What's
me.
me ill? You got 4 kids. What you mean ill?
I want.
I
First
don't
of all,
want to see others that I know.
Shit.
that's gross.
Shit.
Mr. Pornhub over there. Anyway, man, go ahead and continue, Jay. Where you from?
Oh,
Whatever.
gosh.
So that
From around Lake County.
Okay.
I left this area a long time ago
and she's back.
and somehow came back. We've been here since March.
Yeah.
My husband's in the military, so we just came back in March. He's stationed over there in Great Lakes, so we bought a beautiful home out here in this area.
Right.
Okay.
Shout out to Mark zip code.
So we're in a good place right now. We're really happy.
Are you
That's
happy?
what's up.
Yeah.
That's definitely what's up.
You happy to be back home?
A part of me is, yeah. But then when those nights come where it's Antarctica, with
Right.
the jackets and all this stuff,
Motherfucking winter
Right.
is coming.
I'm telling you.
The blizzards.
and then I think back to why did we come back here?
And you know what's fucked up about Chicago? What? Especially like in January, February, it'll be snowing around, but it ain't snowing.
Yeah.
But it's like negative 20 degrees
Right.
and shit.
Right.
Your car act like it don't want to start and
Yeah, I
shit.
know.
Right.
Fuck.
Yeah.
I'm not looking forward to that, man.
You
Yeah.
gotta put gas in it. You
Man.
gotta put gas in it.
Yeah,
We want to make sure.
Right.
My 4th of the tank rule don't work in January.
Right.
February.
Oh shit! I gotta drive to the show.
Damn.
No, we got back here in March, and then it was that weekend where you guys had the 2 days of snow.
Oh, okay.
And we're like, wow, welcome back. That was for us. And then I got into my truck one day, and it was like, be careful, the roads are slippery.
You don't remember how to drive.
I
did you?
said, I didn't even know you could talk.
Wait, what? Who said that, Siri?
My truck.
Oh, your truck talking and shit?
My truck. I was like, I didn't know you could look at me like
Who the
that.
fuck is in here?
Right.
Who lived in my car?
Trey, get your ass in the house.
Could have been Trey.
It could have been. You know he's an actor.
Road conditions are slippery.
Right.
Fuck. Excuse me?
Yeah.
Oh my god, you're stupid. Oh my god. Well,
Yeah.
we
But yeah,
go ahead.
I'm happy to be back. I got my friends.
I guess.
I
I
got like 2.5 friends, I think.
Right.
Yeah, what the fuck? Like, you ain't pointing at me like, what the fuck? Like,
Phil, we just met.
excuse me.
It's a very special
Woo!
role.
Right.
Okay.
Stupid. You stupid. Look at the glasses fogged up.
Sorry. Maybe after the show we can be acquaintances.
You know what?
I'm just kidding.
Whatever.
Whatever. You bougie. You bougie right now.
You damn right. You don't tell me. I just met you. The fuck? Okay. We met at her birthday party.
Right.
And that was it.
Right. When was your birthday, Tim?
June.
Right. Exactly.
Have we seen each other since?
Yes.
No.
When?
You was at the Walmart or at Walmart.
No, I wasn't.
You was
Right.
You
She
was,
got.
I stay away from that Walmart specifically.
you was getting the bonus.
They kicked her out. They deceived her.
You was getting the boneless bananas and shit.
Yeah, right.
Oh my God.
Oh,
So
God.
Jay, we brought you on the show to talk about and give your story.
Yeah.
We don't have a lot of content out there. People that had cancer.
Right.
It's usually family members
Right.
talking for them. You know
Oh,
what I'm
gotcha.
saying?
Yeah.
And we just want to give you the platform to discuss your story and give a story. Maybe you encourage others that's
Yeah.
been easily, diagnosed.
Yeah.
Going through it, that
Yeah.
have been going through it,
Yeah.
the changes,
Yeah.
Yeah.
the pros, cons, all that good
So
stuff.
when did you find out when you had cancer? How did it?
So that chapter of my life, it started in 2005.
Oh, man.
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this January I'll actually be 10 years in remission.
Dang.
Yeah.
2018 January, so I'll be 10 years in remission.
She got 2 birthdays, y'all.
Right. I celebrate 2 birthdays every year. But yeah, it started in 2005. It was the day before. So I met my husband,
Mm-hmm.
that I'm still with. Thank
Right.
you, the father of the 4 children.
She always got it. I was like, what's up? Okay, we know what's that.
Well, so I met him, and then we got married,
Mm-hmm.
and then about 3 months in, or right away, really, in hindsight, looking back, my body was trying to tell me something was wrong because I was sleeping a lot and I wasn't eating. There was a lot of signs looking back where I should have said something's wrong with you.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the day before my 19th birthday
Mm-hmm.
where they said, yeah, you have cancer,
Mm-hmm.
non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, stage 4 type B.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a rare type of cancer, and the cure rate was high, and I had a lot of things going for me. A lot of factors were for me. So my age, my health otherwise was great, things like that. Versus someone who might have been a little older and who was sick already, maybe would have not had that, to their advantage. So my husband and I got married in May 2005. By July, I really started getting sick, and really what made me go to the doctor was there was a 3 or 4 day period where I didn't pick up the phone. We had no contact at all. And, being newlyweds, he was living in Virginia, I was living in Chicago. I mean, that's a red flag. Newlyweds, and it's like, why isn't she picking up the phone? We haven't talked or anything.
Yeah.
And the honest truth was I was asleep. I could sleep 23 hours out of the day.
Oh, wow.
And I wasn't eating, I wasn't drinking, I wasn't doing anything but really just to get up to go to the bathroom. Which, looking back, I'm like, what was I going to the bathroom for? I wasn't eating or drinking or anything. We had a conversation, where I finally picked up the phone, and he's like, what's going on, this and that, and then I said, you got to go to the doctor. You need to go to the doctor. There's only so much I can do from out here. And I remember yelling, like screaming through the phone, like, so what? They can tell me I have cancer? Just something negative, because I was in such a place where I'm like, what is wrong with me? And then he was like, yeah, you got to go. But I had been to the doctor a week or 2 prior to that conversation, and I was sent home after 4 hours with a diagnosis of a UTI and some antibiotics.
The doctor should get fired.
Right. Yeah, and I had went in there telling them, I'm having night sweats, I'm sleeping this long, I'm having these constant itching all over my body, I'm not eating, I'm not drinking. When I closed my eyes, I would tip over. So it was as if my balance was thrown for whatever.
Your equilibrium.
Yeah, my equilibrium was just off. So if I stood straight and I closed my eyes, I would tip whichever way. And I couldn't help it. Even if I tried to fight it, I would tip over. So, I mean, those are little things. And then I had small little marble-sized lymph nodes popping up all over the place. I had some on my neck. I had on my scalp, under my armpits. There was a lot of different things. Just looking back, like, Jerilyn, you knew something was wrong,
Right.
But I was still young. I was still hanging out, and everything. So, and you just think to yourself, that stuff can't happen to you.
Right.
Yeah.
So, after that, I did end up going to the doctor. And my mom was a nurse over at the cancer treatment centers in Zion. And so my
Shout out to Mother Dear. I love her.
Hey, Mom. So she worked there, and we worked it out. Okay, I'm going to go to the ER. I had a friend drop me off, and the doctor who saw me that day was my brother and my pediatrician. So he had seen us since we were growing up. He was my mom's, kind of family friend type of thing. He ran tests and did all this stuff. And when we got into the car, I remember my mom started crying. And I'm like, what's wrong with you? Because I was already irritated, what's going on with me, and now you're crying. What the hell's wrong with you?
Right.
And so she goes, are you doing heroin? Are you shooting up? Are you doing coke?
Shit.
Yeah, she was asking all these invasive ass questions. And I'm like,
Wow,
what are
yeah.
you talking about?
He's
And
tough.
she said that the doctor, right. And the doctor had asked, the doctor, you know, being, I guess, a family friend, he felt it was okay to kind of, you know, to the side and off the record say she has hepatitis from shooting up. You know, I've never done heroin. I've never done cocaine. I've never done any of that hardcore stuff. Never.
Oh, God. Here go Phil.
Damn.
Here go Phil. Here go Phil.
No, I have not. But anyway,
Stupid.
no, but yeah. So he told her that he expressed her. I think she has hepatitis from shooting up with some, you know, like a dirty needle or something.
Shout out to Kenny. He said she was a dope fiend.
Kenny, you didn't get it when we get home.
Right.
Don't nobody want to hear about y'all sex stories.
Right. Shout out to
Ew.
Nance, Greg, Kenny.
But yeah, so she said that to me, and I'm looking at her like, no, I don't even do those things. But she didn't believe me because this is a doctor
Right.
that she's known and we've known telling her like, I think your daughter has hepatitis. So then from there, you know, I had the conversation with Kenny, who was still in Virginia, and he said, no, you know, that's not good enough. We're gonna go further, you know, second opinion or whatever. So eventually he comes out, he gets you know, special leave or whatever from where he was because he was in school. And then he comes out and we go to the military hospital, which is at that time it was on Great Lakes, on Naval Base Great Lakes. So we go in
VA.
there, not the VA, it was actually the hospital.
Oh,
base,
the actual hospital.
the actual
Okay,
hospital
okay.
they don't use anymore. So this is way back. And we go in there and we go to internal medicine, and I'll never forget Dr. Norman Lee. I think he's like a commander or something now. But he was the only doctor who really took the time to listen, touch me, you know, to see what I was talking about. Yeah, you know. And so with him, he said, you know, we're going to do a biopsy ASAP. We're going to cut these things out of you. We're going to send them to get tested and see what's going on. And from that time to that time, I was still getting worse. I lost so much weight. I had to be, at that point, maybe just a little over 100 pounds. And I'd never been that small in my life. You know, I
That's
never wanted to be that
crazy.
small. Yeah. So we go in and he sat us down and he just went straight to it. He said, they came back cancerous. You have this, stage 4, type B. We're going to go at it. You know, like you got this and whatever. So from there, it just kept going from there. And right away, they put a porta-cap into my chest, which is just kind of it's a device that just stays in there so that they don't constantly have to be poking you to withdraw blood or administer your medicine. I think it just stays in you, you know, to use. So they put that in right away, and I remember Kenny left and then came right back. He had to get, you know, approval to be gone that long, and they did. So they gave it to him. Dr. Lee wrote out the letter he needed to write, and so Kenny was with me the whole time from the beginning. And I remember I got the porta-cap put in, and then my mom was there, you know, shortly after my chemo started, and that's what happened. And, you know, at that time, my only support system was my mom and my husband. At that time, I was only 19, so for me, I mean, looking back, I want to say, I don't know if I was embarrassed. Honestly, I don't know what it was that made me like, I didn't talk to you. I didn't talk to cops.
we was at war at that time.
Was it that time we
Yeah,
were?
it was.
Really?
Yeah, because of, what's her name?
We won't even say.
Say her name.
Hold on,
Right.
What was y'all at war about?
We just, there was like, you know, high school.
Yeah.
And,
Right.
So, okay, so you said you had stage 4
type B.
type B. Okay, now typically, whenever you hear anything cancer, whether it's breast cancer, lymphoma, whatever, you hear stage 4, it's like, oh shit,
Yeah.
she got like a week to live, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
With, I guess kind of like, how did you handle that? Knowing that it was stage 4, did you automatically freak out like, oh fuck, I'm about to die? Or like, how were you able to digest that news?
Well, it took a while for me to digest, that's for sure. Even though you know something is wrong, when someone confirms it, it's a totally different ballgame because you're like, okay, wow, yeah, this is really happening, you know?
Yeah.
But again, that support system, even though it was so small, I think at that time was probably the best support system I could have had, because if I would have had all these friends around me encouraging me, but then not there for me, I think that would have been it would have been even more.
Less is more.
Yeah, at that time it was, you know. So when he told me that, and the crazy thing about it is Kenny was probably more prepared for that diagnosis than I, because ironically his aunt was diagnosed with the same exact cancer. And it's such a rare form of cancer that it was just so ironic.
Mm-hmm.
But his aunt that was like a mom to him, was diagnosed with the same exact type of cancer, I want to say at that time, 10 years prior. And he was with her through that. So it's not as if it was something new to him, maybe because I was his wife, it was, you know, more, but it was something that he was not new to. He knew. So I think he took it more, but for me, I think it took a while. And that was one of the reasons why I think I did end up alienating myself and keeping to myself. I mean, my dad, I don't believe knew, my sisters, nobody. And it wasn't even until I had already started losing my hair. And my hair was like this, you know, so it was falling out. Eventually, you know, starts falling out from the chemo and things like that. So I think the first time my family ended up seeing me, it had to be already maybe 4 months into my chemo. So at that point, I was constantly wearing a cap, you know, and things that I remember, and I know some of my cousins and family members, they've expressed to me later on, you know, that like, yeah, when we first saw you that day, we were like, what the hell was happening to her? Because they didn't know what was happening, what was going on, you know. I think my grandfather was the first one to reach out because my mom reached out to him. Because she felt like somebody needs to know what's going
somebody
on.
in the family.
Yeah, somebody on that side needs to know. But it was a lot to take in. And again, I think at that age, when there was no type of, even though you know something's wrong, you don't know that that's what's wrong.
Right, yeah.
So when I heard that, I remember I was really sad. I was really upset. Again, it was the day before my 19th birthday. So it's like, what?
Yeah.
Really? But you know, my mom had her supporting words. Kenny had his words, and it was always just kind of like, we're here, no matter what. And
he still is.
Yeah. And then I remember then I was just like, is he for real? Because we had literally only been married May, June, July, August, 3 months before I was diagnosed with that. We had only known each other 6 months. Right. Because we got married right away. Right. Yeah. Right. So, I mean, you know. Shut up.
What did you say?
Nothing ridiculous.
I said, shit, she must got that fire shit. Kenny Brown 6 months, baby.
So, anyway.
I salute you, brother.
You say you have to fire it up.
Man,
lock it up.
This so good, I can't let nobody get this ever again. But me.
Wrong with him.
Every week.
But
every week.
Yeah, so that's the storyline as far, you know, general storyline. So for me, it was kind of like, is he for real? Because he could literally just say this. I didn't sign up for this shit.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I have a career that I need to go to in Virginia, you know, but he never did. And so.
And you know, like, that's actually very commendable.
Again,
shout outs to you, bro. Because again, when you 18, getting ready to turn 19.
He's entirely responsible.
And he's 20, you know. So it's like, I've seen situations
usually
where
I've seen people walk out for less.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
You took my toast?
Hell yeah.
You took
or get pizza that I want with toppings?
And bitch, you ain't give me none. That's it. It's over. It's a deal.
You right? Really?
Because that's me. So I'll be like,
Sue.
Yeah, I do like real talk. I've seen people that legit had like
walk out
a cold, like an actual cold, like not no AIDS cold, like. I mean, I'm just saying like a regular cough, cold, sneeze, runny nose. Like, oh bitch, you fucking around?
Wow.
I'm out.
Right.
Damn, baby.
Wow.
Give us some Robitussin. Shit's be all right. You know? So I mean, that's a true testament to love.
Yeah.
That's a big testament to love.
Yeah.
So
just thinking back, you know, that was something that always starts like, why isn't he leaving? And this is the crazy part too, because during that chemo, I'm a very nice person, you know. But
I smell lies.
Right.
I smell lies.
Right. She's the pit bull in our crew. I'm a nice person.
I smell lies like a motherfucker.
Right there.
I'm such a nice person.
No.
She said what? Who?
No, but seriously, I was a bitch to Kenny during that time. The chemo, the appointments, just everything was a lot, you know.
Yeah. And
he took a lot of it just because he was there.
Yeah.
And that chemo is a beast.
It is. Yeah, and it's like
that's a bitch.
Yeah, there's days where you cannot help it.
Yeah.
You can't help it because you're just it just messes with you mentally, physically. You got aches and pains and bones and just things that are out of your control.
Yeah.
And there were those days where you're just like, I don't want to be like this, but
you can't. You literally can't help it.
Yeah, you literally cannot help it because it's just so much going through your body. But then there came a time where we got our own place and we kind of were able to figure out a schedule where I get my chemo on the Wednesdays, and then we knew we had a week of just like regular me, and then that second week it would just be terrible me because that second week is when your body really starts feeling it. So you kind of got the rhythm of it eventually. And I went through that first round of chemo. How long was that? It had to be maybe almost a year actually. Because it was almost a year probably of just that chemo. Once every 2 weeks. And then I had bone marrow biopsies where they kind of drill into your back to pull out to make sure you're progressing. It was a lot, but again, they were always there. And then when I went into remission, I went in and then they pulled that bone marrow and they said, yeah, everything's looking good. It's going away, everything's looking good or whatever. And I was in remission. They cleared me, and I was in remission for almost a year. And so right away I started working. I remember I said, I'm going to work wherever I need. I went to Ponderosa. You guys remember Ponderosa?
Oh, Jesus.
Man.
I am not a food service type of person.
Oh, my God. I know you ain't.
Y'all want me to bust some tables?
Right. But I said, you know what? I haven't been contributing for this whole year. Like, you've been here for me. I want to work. Doesn't matter what I'm doing. And he still jokes about it now because he's like, you are not that type of person.
Right. Okay, absolutely.
So, and I remember I went in there and I tried. I really did try. That just wasn't the line. I feel sorry for the No, they had me doing hostess, stuff or whatever. And I'm talking about this was like fresh out of, I'm in remission. Okay, I want to work like the next week, because I just wanted to start contributing right away, you know. And at that time, let me think, that was 2006. Yeah, and it had always been an understanding between Kenny and I that our daughter, Nye, who was 3 at that time, that when we got settled and we got our place, and that she was going to come stay with us, you know. And for those of you who don't know, it's Kenny's daughter from another relationship, but I've raised her since she was 3, so that's my daughter too. But anyway, so that was always the agreement. So that was always the agreement. So fresh out of the chemo, we were done. I was in remission.
Why everybody always think I got something smart to say?
Look at your face.
I'm intrigued by the story. Oh, don't say shit. What the fuck? I'm listening. The fuck?
No, yeah, but so I always knew, like, okay, we got to do that. So we had her, and then we're doing that. But then they had me like cleaning the windows or something. Something like cleaning them,
Okay.
outside, inside.
You better get to it.
Yeah,
take your ass outside with this
I
Windex.
was like, I'm not coming back.
Right. She got me chicken on the way out. What was you going to do? That chicken was
Fire.
Right. But we ain't stop out of business. Okay?
Man, hey,
fire.
straight the fuck up.
Fire.
Ponderosa
Really?
Shit. Oh.
Shout out to
you
the
worked
owner.
there and never
I
ate
didn't
there?
eat it.
Oh,
I think the only
shit.
thing I had was like some beef stew or something like that.
Hey, real talk.
Noodles. I knew you
Hey, real shit. They
They had
wings
like
to
a
put
double
wings
fudge
up out
lava
there.
cake that was really good. So I remember that. I had to make it.
Man. Damn, Ponderosa.
Oh, God.
The closest Ponderosa to us is all the way out in the fucking Wisconsin Dells.
Oh,
wow. That's far.
Yeah.
They were all over Cali. San Diego had Sizzlers and Ponderosa.
Oh,
see?
Sizzler.
Yeah.
Look at that. He's so sad.
I missed it. It was so good.
Wow.
Yes. You made me forget my questions.
What the fuck? You just accused me of getting ready to say some shit. I'm sitting there like, oh, man, that's deep. And you're like, don't say shit.
Hey, give him a benefit of the doubt.
Thank you.
And he's going to act right.
He's not. He said you had that fire. I told him not to say the fire.
God.
No, you said behave.
Right.
I am behaving.
You ain't supposed to say that.
Why? Shit, if a girl got that fire, shit, it's nice for the world to know that she got that fire.
Lord have mercy.
Some things we need to keep in mind.
Oh my God, y'all are just so disgusting.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Okay, right. But yeah, so a year in remission, started working there, didn't work out, whatever. And then after about 6 months, because every 6 months you have to go and keep getting rechecked, make sure you're good to go. It came back. So yeah.
No, wait. Now here, hold on.
Yeah.
So every 6 months you have to go back for more chemo?
No. Just checkups. Yeah. So in actuality, it's supposed to be, from what I remember, because I'm really, even now, I'm supposed to go once a year, and I haven't gone in about 6 years. But
you was hard headed.
I know.
But she's fine because she's fall asleep when you get drugs. So
you know what? Private.
I was like,
Privacy.
pulse is good.
Check her pulse.
But
she's breathing. Let's get this motherfucker rolling. Okay.
But, no, it's supposed to be something, I believe it's like right after you're put into remission, they want to keep close tabs on you.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to say it's probably every month for 6 months.
Okay.
And then I think that it goes to 3 months, and then 6 months, and then 9 months, and then a year, and then from there you just keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just never really good at that. So anyways, within that first 6 months of being in remission, it came back, and they said it's a little more aggressive actually this time around. So they said, okay, now we really got to go aggressive with it. We're going to link you up with Dr. Jane Winters, amazing oncologist in Chicago. I'll never forget her. And we linked up with her, and then it was kind of like from there on, it was more like, we're not just going to keep dosing you up with chemo. We're going to have a care plan, and you're going to eventually have a full-out transplant. You know, a full-out
transplant of what?
A bone marrow transplant.
Okay.
So at that time, the most common type of transplant is where you have a donor who matches you,
right,
and then they give you theirs, right?
Okay.
So, but I think there were a lot of factors, again, my age, my health otherwise, and things like that. So we started that up, and they gave me heavy doses of ice, I think it was called, which was a more aggressive type of chemo. So my hair, and that was second time around is when I was more open about it, and I was, you know, I was in contact with friends and my family, and I let them be more involved and things like that, and let them know what I was and what I was going through, and I took control of that time. So before my hair started falling out, I shaved it, and you know, just more control that time around, so that way I didn't feel so helpless. You know,
right.
The attitude.
Now let me ask you this. Now you said a bone marrow transplant. Forgive my ignorance because I'm not very versed in all these different type of cancers. Typically, when you hear like a bone marrow transplant or something like that, is that person still living, or is that just like they donated? Yeah,
they're still alive. So usually what will happen is they have to find a match. Whether it be a family member, a stranger who's in some type of donor bank, whatever the case is. But the person's alive. Yeah. So that happened. Came back, did all that. And the way it worked was I needed to do the ice chemo. You know, and again, I took control, you know, and all this stuff. And I think that time around I was a little more scared because I go, God, I went through all that and it still came back. So we were, you know, like I remember I had Kenny take like family pictures with me in case something happened. You know,
you were
like
well, no, I mean, it makes sense.
You know, like and I still have those pictures.
I know you do.
I do.
You were like, what the hell was I thinking?
We had me and I and him, and it was me and him, and I was just like, you know, just in case or whatever. So anyways, we did that, and then after that chemo, I had to start going to Chicago. And I mean, we were there like every week, at least 2 times a week for a while. And this was in anticipation of, they had to sit down with a psychologist, a psychiatrist, and just talk to us about where our minds were. Because we were still so young. So at that point, I think Kenny was 21, I was 20, or turning 20. And they wanted to know where we were mentally. You know, can you handle this? And where you guys at in your marriage? And this type of thing like that. Because what they wanted to introduce was in vitro. Because they knew that the chemo that I was having was so aggressive that most likely it would ruin any chance of us having children. You know, and so we're 20 and 21. Yeah, I'm pretty confident saying we're 20 and 21 having to deal with the reality that we may not have children together. You know, so we did that, and they said, yeah, we think they're pretty good to go. And there was a specialist out there, in vitro, you know, clinic, who said this story, like her story, their situation is so unique that I want to donate my services. So I don't know, somehow through, you know, probably Dr. Wynn or whatever, through that hospital, Northwestern, he donated his services, and he actually put me on the steroid treatment to try to, you know, ovulate more and do all that. Because what they wanted to do was really give us the opportunity in the future, if we ever wanted to have children, whether someone else carried the babies or not. So so we ended up going through vitro. I ballooned up from that steroids. Kenny would give me the shot, you know, try and do everything, and then they were able to collect 28 eggs from me, and then Kenny had to go do his thing.
Oh God.
And and out of those 28, they only got 3.
Oh, see, look, you got 3 little midgets.
So they got 3, and they froze them, you know, whatever, and said, no matter what, at the end of the day, you guys got 3 embryos. It's you and him. Whatever happens, you know, even if you can't carry them. So we're like, okay, thank goodness for that. So that happened, and then I spent a month in Northwestern Memorial Hospital in Chicago, where they dosed me up on the chemo and really just got my body ready for that bone marrow transplant. And they took my plasma to clean it, and then what ended up happening was I didn't have a traditional bone marrow transplant. Something new that was being introduced is called an autoimmune transplant, where they take your own bone marrow, essentially clean it, and give it back to you. So I never even needed a donor, which my brother, bless his heart, he was willing to get tested. He was, a little ugly self.
Did you say bread?
No, bread.
My
Bread.
brother,
Bread is his name.
B-R-E-G?
B-R-I-G, like the jail.
Don't crack on him, because he's king of tennis.
He the king of what?
He's the king
The
of
couch,
comedy.
sleeping.
King of comedy, too. He's a comedian, too.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get his name down.
Give him a chance.
Thought you said bread. Shout out to bread. Who the fuck is bread? Damn, you see what the
Yeah.
You see what I did with this
She's
memory?
a lot.
I don't know. I don't know what you're going to do.
She's a lot.
I tried to catch it. I'm sorry, brother.
I'm like, man, I'm trying to say shout out to him too. Like, damn. Because I know motherfuckers in my family that wouldn't donate
Wow.
a stick of gum with me and my breath on fire.
Right.
That's a shame.
No support.
Still,
I would to you.
Motherfuckers. Thank you.
I would.
Wow.
I'll give you some gum too.
Right.
So these other motherfuckers ask me for money.
Right.
Oh.
I'm sorry. It ain't about.
You get bursted.
Have
You
a
get
fun.
bursted.
Oh,
You get
wow.
mad.
Have a flashback
Mad.
that
What time is it? It's around
Play that
that time.
Oh,
It's
no.
around that time. He finna get mad.
No, I was just, man, I'm sorry. I had to bring that shit.
Yeah.
Fucking don't ask me for
Okay.
money and shit. Thank you.
Wow. Family's supposed to be everything.
Yeah.
Supposed
What
to
a
Sorta.
shame.
Sorta.
Supposed to be. Shit, I got blood that ain't family, and I got family that ain't blood. Goddamn it.
Yeah. That's what
Ask me for money and shit. Get that shit out. The fuck? I got 3
Whoa.
kids. I'm
Oh, yeah. I was like, you got these shoes on? I was on that.
Hell no, I got my Arthur Ashes on.
Oh, okay. I'm
Don't
sorry.
pay me some don't look at my Jordans like that. The fuck?
What do you call it? Arthur Asses? Did you say?
Arthur Ashe.
Arthur
You
Ashe.
trying to roast?
I've never seen him.
Don't be
I
looking
don't
at
even
my
know what
shoes
Arthur
like
Ashe
that.
No, I
She
thought
gonna
you
look at my
I
shoes
thought you
like,
had
the
to.
fuck? Like, the fuck is he got on? Hey,
Wow.
let me look at your
Personal
Ross.
issues on the left.
Nah, she trying to roast this shit
No,
on the
she
low.
was like, I thought you had to do
Nah,
it.
I saw her face.
We going on. We carried on.
She goes,
We can.
Did I?
that face. That freeze that face. That face.
We
like,
did.
The fuck?
We did. We'll zoom in later.
Later.
Put my Jordans on this.
Oh my god. And then once they cleaned your bone marrow, and then what?
Yeah, so pretty much, I had to go in there, they had to prepare me for a month, and then during that last, I think the second week, the end of that third week, they put it in. Like, they put the machine next to you, and they start injecting you with your own.
So question for you. So is that kind of like dialysis?
Yeah.
Is it kind of like like dialysis a little bit?
Yeah, in a way. Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, where they take it from you and put it back. Yeah, in a sense. So that happened. And I remember that was January 29, 2008. And that's where they call it your new birthday because you're reborn.
Yeah.
You got all the new, because when you're born, that's all your new stuff. And they give you all your new stuff. So that happened. And I remember I stood up because it wasn't even hard headed. It was more like I was just so determined to be like, I'm not sickly. Type of thing,
Yeah.
So I remember leading up into that day, they had treadmills and bicycles and things like scattered throughout the hallway to kind of keep everybody, because they wanted you to stay active.
Motivated.
Stay active and keep your blood going and everything. And I was on that bike every day, like, I don't forget this. I'm not going to get, I'm not sickly. Girl, know how to gown, hospital gown. But,
With your raw ass on the seat?
Right. Right.
Clothes on underneath. Gosh.
That's gross.
Yeah. But pajamas. I think I had several pairs of pajamas.
She had her raw ass on the bike.
Hey.
Sweat on there. That's stupid.
She the one that.
No, but
Yeah, I know.
that floor that I was on had to be because all of us, our immune systems weren't
It's
there.
super, super low.
Right.
It
So
not
I bet you,
existed.
as soon as my sweaty ass got off of that seat, someone was right behind me wiping it up because.
Pour some Clorox on that one. Let this hot ass bleach sit on this.
No, excuse me.
Like she
Right,
just got her
right.
ass.
So I'm clean.
Like she
So
just
they
had
take
a
a
bare
bath
ass.
I'm clean.
Like
They
she
take a
had
bath.
a bare ass on this seat. Clorox is my life.
Oh, that's the best.
But yeah, so keeping you
Yeah,
motivated,
just staying
treadmill.
busy. You know, they encourage that a lot.
Oh,
And
okay.
so, and then after that, I remember the day that I had the transplant. They said when you get up, you're going to be very like you're gonna be dizzy. You're gonna be lightheaded. Are you okay?
I didn't even say shit. See what the fuck I'm dealing with.
No, sorry, that bare ass
Oh
comment.
my
You
gosh.
stupid.
You see, she
Oh,
high
I
as
see where
shit.
you're coming from. Inside.
Inside
She's
stuff.
not sharing today.
I want to hear about the bare
No.
Scare my life. Oh my God.
Anyways.
Anyways.
Oh my god.
Shout out to Nance. She knows. Shout out to Nance. Oh, man.
But yeah, so anyways, I get up trying to be all badass, you know,
Right.
like, no, this is gonna, and I nearly fell over because, like, luckily they caught me because they were for real. Like, when they said when you stand up, your body's just, I guess, you know, getting accustomed to it and everything, trying to accept it. And I stood up, so I'm like, no, I want to get up and go to the bathroom by myself. And I nearly fell over and busted my head because it was so strong, you know, you can't help it. And then after that, I think I was a little more reasonable. Like, I listened a little better because it was, like it was like you stood up and then everything just went boom, and you just.
Like your body went limp.
Yeah, like you don't have control. It's just you're lightheaded and then you're gone. And yeah, and but then, you know, I recovered well. Everything was good, and I got to go home when I needed to go home. So about a week and a half later, I was home. But I would tell you, all the medicine that they had going through me during that month took a toll on me because to go to sleep, you have to have medicine. To wake up, you need medicine. To feel better, you need medicine. And a lot of it were those like Dilaudid and fentanyl, you know, the strong stuff.
Yeah. Shit.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. But when you go home and you don't want to feel that way,
Right.
you know, I was at home depressed for, it had to be a good month. And I remember anytime anyone left me, Kenny had to go to work, my mom wasn't there, and I was by myself. I was scared. Like, the only word to describe it was scared because I felt like they were going to die and they would never come back home. But it was like these thoughts that you could not help. You know, so
those delusions.
it really was, yeah. And then to go to sleep, I couldn't sleep. I could not sleep because my body had become so accustomed to only being able to go to sleep with those medicines that I couldn't sleep on my own. And I remember I was crying, and I'm like, Kenny, I'm so tired, but my brain won't go to sleep. I cannot go to sleep. And one day we were just laying in the bed, we were just talking. And the next thing you know, I woke up and it was morning. And he's like, Jay, you were talking and you literally knocked out. And he goes, I didn't want to bother you. But it's just so crazy to try to get back into the way, you know, the way you usually
things used to be.
So it took a while.
That takes a toll.
Yes. And so I don't know what you call it, but I had that syndrome where I couldn't be alone. I thought everyone was going to die around me if they weren't right in my line of sight. And it was just a lot. So I want to say about a month or so and I refused to take any medicine. They gave me a lot of painkillers and things like that. But I'm one of those people, especially coming from that experience where you were so dosed up. If I don't have to take it, I don't take it.
I don't want to take it.
Yeah, and that's even to this day.
Yeah.
You know, like even with having the babies, painkillers and all this. Like if I didn't need it, I just wouldn't take it. You know.
You're strong, ain't you?
No.
Yeah, you are.
But no, but it's, you know what, when you get to that point where you've taken all those medicines, because I know for me having stomach issues and stuff, you get to a point where it's like, man, fuck it.
Yeah,
like,
just take it.
If I can bear it, if it's enough where I can kind of get through it, fuck it. I don't even want to take
Y'all
shit.
stronger than me because I'll take
Fuck
it.
that, put me out.
Right.
Give me some Percocets.
Oh my god.
I want some Molly. Put me out my
Right, I'll be on the couch
fucking
like,
Wow.
leave me alone.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm dead. I can't handle no pain. I can't handle it.
Oh man. You have a low tolerance. Then.
Yeah, I do. You see that when we drink. So.
Where's Tiff? Oh, she's gone.
Yeah. Like that was a shot of
Right.
Quavo?
Right.
That's just one?
It was
Just
mixed
one, I'm
with
asleep.
lemonade. It was mixed.
I'll be able to handle it.
No,
Don't come for me.
That was 3% Quavo. That was 7% lemonade. What the fuck?
The Don't come for me, Phil.
Yeah.
And Jay, okay? I can't handle it. I'm not strong like y'all. Okay? The stomach can't bear it. The stomach cannot bear it. So what advice do you give the people that that just got diagnosed with cancer?
Or possibly even dealing with it.
Now, I would say just take it as it comes. Don't like look ahead all the bad things that could happen, because I did that a lot where you're just like, oh my god, this is where I'm gonna die, you know. Just take it as it comes. Let that support group be your support group. People who want to be there and are showing they want to be there, let them in, because it does make it that much easier. And there's a light at the end of the tunnel, you know. I know there are situations where it's just too far gone, and but if you keep your mental state strong, and again allow that support group to be there for you, and then let people in, I think that it's best. And then take control, because that second time around I think I was so much stronger. When I didn't let my hair fall out on its own. I mean, you know, when you're again 19, you're young, you don't know what to expect, and then you're taking a shower and clumps of your hair are coming out, you know, and that was like your main, you know, your hair was your thing, you know, and it's just like clumps of it coming out. And then you have to resort to wearing a scarf everywhere you go. And that's just to hold on to the little 30 pieces of hair you have, little strands of hair you have, which was what I was doing that first time around. It takes a toll on you, because then you look in the mirror and you're like, oh my god,
this isn't me.
Right.
This isn't what
you know what I mean?
saying.
Yeah. And then that second time around, when I took control and said, I'm going to cut my hair, I'm going to, you know, I'm going to be take more control of what's going on with me, you know, you feel much better about yourself, because then you don't feel like it's taking a hold of you, you know. So, you know, let your support group in, let those people in, be positive. There's a light at the end of the tunnel, and take control of your situation, you know. And again, and also be your own advocate for your health, because had I listened to the ER doctor who kind of said, you're not taking care of yourself, you have a UTI, where would I be today? And if we had listened to the family doctor who had been taking care of me and my brother since we were little, who said I had hepatitis, that I was shooting up, you know, then where would we be today? You know? Versus saying, no, we got to go and get a third opinion, you know, and then we found the right person. So be your own advocate for your health, because if you don't, then nobody else is going to do it. The doctors get paid regardless if you're there for 5 minutes or 30, you know.
They get paid anyway.
You know what's crazy, which I definitely want to commend you as well as your husband on your strength, is the fact, like, yo, we all in our 30s now. You're in your 30s, right?
Maybe.
Okay. You old as shit too. But you know what's crazy though?
Maybe.
What's crazy, with us being late 20s, early 30s, when we look back at 19, 18, 19, that time frame, it's like we have that sense of immortality. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're gonna live forever.
Right.
Our craziest night, that's how I want to feel every night.
Right. You be having heartburn until you die.
And right, you know what I'm saying? I got heartburn, we're going to die.
Right.
I got a hangnail, fuck, I got to get my hand amputated. to think that, you know, at literally at the tender age of 18, 19, to not just have some shit like, oh, well, you know, you're sick. But yo, you got stage 4, plan B, type B. Yeah, I said plan B. I'm sorry.
What's he doing? Okay.
I said plan B only $6. I ain't mean to go to him, but you know.
I knew that's what he was gonna say. So when he
but
said,
no, I'm sorry.
He said plan B. I said, look at Jay.
Wait.
Oh, really? We're getting plan B. But no, like, man, I'm trying to be serious and shit.
Yeah, right.
It's just crazy.
Y'all do it.
It's crazy because at like that age, you don't think about shit
don't.
like that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
No, you don't.
And looking back at your teenage mind, only older people get cancer. Only older people die of that. So only older people die of that.
Right.
I had a cousin, y'all know I had a cousin that died of cancer at 33.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You did?
Yeah, recently,
And it's like, what the fuck? Like,
Wow.
really? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's those hard knock lives that'll shake the shit out of you and wake you up.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine, you know, especially with I'm not hitting on your wife, Kenny. But, you know, you take like 19-year-old pretty girl. No, I mean like real shit. Think about it. 19, 20-year-old girl, pretty girl. Of course, every woman's pride and joy is their hair.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Especially the black woman when they get that fresh weave,
right?
That fresh summer hair, and you be trying to grab it and shit.
Right.
I'm sorry, I'm getting off track.
No, this is right. This is my choice.
But again, you know what I'm saying? Like a woman takes pride in her hair,
right?
And
Absolutely.
They going through
all
that, and it's like, yo, like I'm losing my hair because of this shit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like that can fuck you up mentally.
Definitely. And again.
Right.
When you're in the shower, you know, you're trying to hold on to those little tiny strands of hair that are left. Because I'm telling you, I had a wrap, like a scarf, and it was like little, maybe 30 strands of hair left on the
little
bottom.
baby hairs, yep.
I mean, no, like strands this long. So just imagine, like, this much hair is what I was holding on to, this little bit of hair. Because it was just like, I was letting it get to me, you know? And I think that contributed to why I was such a bitch to Kenny. And I remember there was one time where
Have you ever apologized to him?
I don't know that I have.
No time
like
that.
Kenny, you can. I'm shouting out to Kenny. I'm giving you all your sorries tonight.
Yeah, we talked about it, and I was like, I don't know why I was such a bitch to you. Because I remember there was a time when it was still kind of coming up, and I still had a lot. And he would brush my hair for me because I couldn't bear to brush it and see all that hair in the brush. And so he would brush it for me, you know. And it was just like, wow. And then I remember, when I said I was a bitch, and it wasn't like a and just nagging him. It was like I would say hateful things to him.
And you still say it.
Like hateful ass things.
I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
Let me go.
And again, we're talking about being married for that short amount of time and knowing each other that short amount of time. He took it. Yeah, I was like, I remember we were. No, the one time, and I'm gonna apologize for this. I don't know if I have, but we were laying down one night, and he kept touching my head, or like he was touching me or something, and I'm like, get the off me, like, why do you want to be here? Just hateful stuff. And he was like, it's okay, baby. You know, like, it was just like he received it that way. He didn't take it like, okay, now I'm going to fight back with you. I'm going to say some hateful shit back to you.
Right.
Yeah.
Man. That's a real man right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
That real shit, that's a real man right there.
Yeah.
No, hey,
don't fight him off.
You better apologize to that man. Cause real shit.
I'm thinking like, well, I was a bitch.
You better.
But yeah.
Look at you crying over here like, that's my makeup. Oh my God.
Yeah, but I can remember that. And again, it was just, you couldn't help it.
Don't cry. Don't
you
cry.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah, you couldn't help it.
And
I think he just understood that. He understood like it's not her.
Yeah.
You know? So that was the hard part, but yeah, so.
And y'all still together today. You know, to get
Man.
big old family.
Yeah.
Man, you better
with a big house, with my room.
You better make it up to him
once a month.
Make it up to Kenny today.
No. Right, the 3 boys there. What y'all doing?
Right in between. So we have a master suite. You know, we have the master
Train
suite.
going.
Right. We have a master suite in our room, in our master bedroom, and Kenny just be on the couch because I'm not gonna fight for you when we have it's me and this side and him, and we have the 3 boys like sprawled all over.
In the same bed?
Yeah.
Man, y'all better go on the couch.
Even if they sleep in their bed, they'll end up in the room.
Shit.
Right.
You better go in their room.
Right. Here come one.
And then the other one. And the other.
Yeah,
exactly.
Fuck that.
Now I'd be like, I just had y'all credit card so I can go shopping, please. Thank you. I don't want to be bothered with all y'all.
Girl, Nine is not bothered with us at all.
Right?
I'm like, where's Nigeria? Is she even home? Did she come home today? Yeah.
So how's it like raising a teenager? Is it different?
With Nine?
Yeah. Like viewing.
No, you know Nine is like me, so it's very hard. Do you have a teenager?
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
She's 14.
Oh, mine's 14 too.
Motherfucking.
Yes.
Woo!
Wow.
It's scary.
Man.
You better turn around and go back in the room because you and I
told my daughter, my oldest turns 15 in December. I'm like, when you 15, you at the legal age, I can fight your motherfucker.
Is that true? Is that on paper?
Yeah, I think so.
Show
Back out on your mother. What? Wow. Fuck you up, man.
Right.
Oh,
right.
Coming in here talking that shit.
No, I don't think your daughter.
No, Nadia is a good kid. You know that. Nadia is a great kid. But I
compare what we were. So
Yeah, because I mean, but you can tell when they want to say something. Or
right.
It's like, and then the attitude comes. Did you roll your eyes right now? Did you? And she's like, no. Okay, now you're gonna lie because it's like that type of thing. You know what I mean? It's that type of thing.
Hey, I love that shit, boy.
Yeah.
Oh, so you said I'm a dumb motherfucker?
I'm lying.
That's what you're trying to say.
Right. You look at
You trying to say I ain't see you do that shit that you just
the big
did.
boy stand behind you.
Right? And
No.
they go, yeah. You just see Trey.
Oh my
Mom, Arthur's up there on the tablet. Like always telling, he's always telling. But then when she does get grounded, he's the first one to go. He's the first one to say, I don't want Arthur to be grounded. But you helped her though. You told her.
Snitched on her, bro.
You told.
He said, I want to take it back.
Yeah, exactly.
He a trip. He's a trip. All them kids.
Man. But no, but again, with that story, and I thank you guys for the platform. This is the first time I've ever shared that story.
Yeah.
Like, I
Thanks
know
for
you
sharing.
guys,
Yeah.
as friends and stuff,
Thank you for
but,
sharing.
and I hope that, seeing me now, we're in a good place.
Yeah.
I was able,
But,
let me think, 2008, I had my first son, pregnant with him and everything, 2011.
Oh,
So, and that was
Right.
after they said you wouldn't.
yeah.
And it was just one of those things where me and Kenny accepted we're not going to ever have kids. And then it happened.
Right.
So,
Well, I always say,
The
God,
old fashioned.
God always had the last say. That's what I always say.
yeah.
Oh, shit.
Ew. Yeah,
Here
the
we
old
go.
fashioned way. Oh, wow.
Okay.
Wow.
Pouring in the biscuit.
Wow.
Good job, Penny. What? Fix your face, Peter Pan. Grow up.
I know. I'm loving it.
No, yeah, it really did happen. And I want to share that because he's listening. And I've told Kenny that when we got pregnant because, again, we accepted we wouldn't have kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember my nephew, he was almost 2. And he came out to Cali, hung out with us for about a month or so. And Kenny picked me up from work with him in the back. And he looked at me and he goes, Jay, I want a son. And I was like, me too.
Yeah.
And then about maybe a month later, 2 months later, is when I found out it was the day of my birthday. We were going to Vegas. I took a test in the morning, and it came up positive.
Oh, okay.
So
That's
it took.
too much.
So I got pregnant after a month of us saying that out loud.
Right. I was
You
like,
know?
wait, you going
Yeah.
too much.
And then after that, it was just like another one, and then another one.
Man,
Right.
when it's good like that, man, you can't stop, man. You just gotta keep having them on and up.
Yeah. So it'll happen if it's supposed to happen. Yeah.
Hey, and be encouraged. I
Right,
mean, like,
yes.
you know, the dope thing about that
What?
is the unpredictability of it when the doctors sit and say,
Mhm.
oh, yeah, you won't, and then, bam.
And then it happens.
You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
right.
And not through in vitro, because that shit is
No.
expensive as fuck.
Right.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? The good old fashioned way, the
Yeah.
intimate
Mhm.
way. What more else could you ask for? You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah.
Like that's something to be encouraged about with anybody that's dealing with this shit. You know what I'm saying?
It's
you
hard.
can't conquer it.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Don't let it conquer you though.
Yep.
Right.
You conquer that shit. I mean, you got to take it with a grain of salt, and like you said, take each day
Mm-hmm.
for what it is.
Mhm.
You know.
Right.
Whew. Thank you.
Right? He's like, you about to tell.
No, I ain't about to go. I ain't
You know, listen to the gospel on the way.
No, I ain't about to. He saw the best.
Oh.
No, I ain't about to go there.
No, you were about to.
When everyone could only see the worst in me.
Oh, wow.
I ain't gonna
Okay,
go
say it.
there. I'm too much of
Get
a
it. Oh my God. Phil, you stupid. Don't say that.
But no, I mean, like, yo, when you really look at that, man, because how many success stories or celebration stories have you heard where it's like, you know,
they survived. They didn't get to say their story. That's why I brought it
man,
in. Yeah.
that's beautiful.
We don't
You know
have
what I'm saying?
that. They always have family members talking for them.
Yeah.
Oh, this person was like this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And then they have like foundations for them.
yeah. Prime example, me and my cousin.
Never,
You know what I'm
never
saying?
do that again.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
thing of it is, and you never know, like,
Yeah.
who's listening, who may be sharing.
yeah.
You know, your story alone, because I know a lot of our listeners follow on SoundCloud.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people at my job, they share the link with other people, like, yo, they had a counselor on here. Yo, like, what you dealing with your story, man, you never know who dealing with
Yeah,
that shit.
absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, because like you said, your first bout with it,
Mm-hmm.
whether you don't know whether it was you were embarrassed or ashamed or whatever, you'd be surprised about how a lot of people got shit going on.
Yeah.
And they find out, just kind of like a random encounter at the store or at a Walmart or Walgreens or just out and about, like, damn, like, what happened to you?
Yeah.
It's like you don't look like the person I know.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I know it's you, but you don't look like you. You know?
Yeah, I saw that with me. Some dude.
Yeah, and that's a crazy story because I don't know if you remember, but I was at my chemo office that first time around, and we ran into someone from high school. Do you remember that?
Don't.
I know, and he was there, and he was also battling cancer.
Wow.
Yeah.
And he was from our year, our school, and I go, that is not you because he looks so different.
Yeah.
I mean, he was skin and bones, and again, you never know who's going through it.
Yeah.
And I saw him, and I go, no effing way.
Yeah.
Like, really?
Yeah.
So you're right. You really don't know.
What people going
You really don't know.
Yeah. I'm just glad we linked up again, Jay.
Right.
We were at war for a little bit.
What y'all go to war for? I want
It was Tupac and Biggie type
Because
boy.
her mouth.
No, it wasn't.
What happened, Jay?
No, it wasn't. But I really don't remember.
You got a big ass. You got a big ass.
Yeah, I do talk crazy when I need to.
What happened, Jay?
You
No,
say
it was just petty. We were in high school. It had to be sophomore, junior, or something. And we got into it because
somebody.
No, not a boy. Over a boy.
Right.
Wait.
He must not know.
Wait. How long you know? How long? No, but no.
I don't know how long.
No, but we got into it over something, and I know you guys remember Zion, that South cafeteria. Some of y'all might have saw.
Y'all got to a
I
fight.
jumped up those stairs when Toilet Parapro let me go. About to whip her ass.
No, it wasn't. I'm about to put these hands on the baby.
Y'all was getting ready to box?
Yeah, she made her best that day. I was like,
No, we never got to it.
no,
but,
we didn't.
Damn.
No, we never got to
You
it.
stupid.
But no, we got it. I don't remember what that was about.
I know.
Why?
It was over a bitch.
No. It
No,
was
it was
something.
not.
It had to be something more like he said, she said
Stuff, yeah.
stuff, and then I went to her like
We had a mutual
talking,
friend,
so
this
about
mutual friend
just
was being two-faced.
silly stuff,
Yeah.
But we reconnected afterward, and I think
Yeah, I heard
that's
she
the
got
case.
said
Yeah,
MySpace.
Was it MySpace?
Yeah.
What fucking MySpace?
Shout out to Katie Mack. She the one that told me you got sent.
Was it her?
Yeah.
Oh,
so,
man.
yeah.
And me and her fell off for a while.
You follow what? It's the
Everybody.
problem is
Nancy,
you.
No.
all of you.
It seems like both of y'all some old pet ass, mess ass motherfuckers. Both of y'all just. I thought I was that bitch too, but we cool now.
Well, goddamn, you said like, hey, we was kids. We was kids. We don't fall out now. We fall out in the living room, drunk.
Yeah.
Right.
I see, yeah.
We don't fall out now. We grown women now, so we ain't got nothing to fight over. What we gonna
That's
fight over?
good, man.
Yeah.
That's good.
But
Okay.
yeah. So when I say I have 2.5 friends, I'm serious.
Right.
Maybe
Yeah, that's it.
3.5. But yeah, like all the friends that I consider friends right now are all people I've known 15 plus years.
Yeah.
There's no one, that I'm just like, oh,
No
you
new
know.
friends. No.
Really?
No.
Really?
Drake. He loves Drake. He don't say
Oh, really?
That's my dude, man.
Right. I know you're supposed to say the other thing.
That's my
Is he
dude.
coming on?
No, that's my dude.
Oh,
right.
Drake, hands down, is
Yeah.
one of the greatest rappers of all
A
time.
song for every situation.
Man, better than Biggie, better than Pac. Yes, I
Yeah.
said.
He lost his mind.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right.
21 Savage is better than Pac too.
Right.
'Cause I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 L's in my mic. That shit is cold.
Those are the songs I don't let my kids
Oh my
You don't
god.
think Lace got some songs?
Girl.
Lake, you better check that snap. Lake's on the Snapchat like,
Girl, you gotta see Elam. Elam is my 2-year-old, and I heard him. He was singing something, and he's like, "Mommy," and he can't talk right yet. So he's like, "Mommy." I said, "What are you singing?" And I listened. He was singing that Cardi B song that I don't let them listen to.
Oh, the Low Limit one?
No, the one is like,
Bodak
"You can't
Yellow.
mess with me," and that
Oh,
one.
yeah.
And then, girl, he remixed it. And when I said, "What are you singing?" He's like, Caillou, Caillou. I'm like, Elam.
Ain't no motherfucking Caillou.
No, that was not Caillou. You were.
He's like, oh, wait, I'm on in Chicago. Come on down.
Where do you in your Chicago?
Hell no.
Oh, he in Gurney. He already said that. Waukegan. He live in he live in Gurney.
That's twice she even said some slick shit. On the road.
He in
First she said
Gurney
something
trying
about
to
my
be honest.
shoes. And then she was like, oh, you living on Chicago? The fuck? Okay. Hey, Hey, but for real shit, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for fighting like a girl.
Yeah.
Thank you for continuing to be a
Beast.
A beast, man. Like,
right.
you know, keep that image up, man. Keep that positivity up.
Uh-huh.
Share your story.
Yeah. Right.
Share it. Share it. Like, man, you never know who's listening. Mm-hmm. You never know who's watching. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It could be somebody watching you that'll be like, oh, like, she went through that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if she could do it, I can do it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Great.
So, man, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you,
guys.
Thank you.
And before I go, there is a group called the Lymphoma Club who's been MIA for a while on Facebook. It was a big motivator for me, so I opened my own page called Fighting Lymphoma Strong.
Oh, okay.
So if you guys want to add it, I just started it. You guys are more than welcome. I'm just gonna, help you guys along your journey and pretty much do what that page was doing for me. That I don't know what the hell happened to it. So
they got tired. It's a lot of work.
So yeah,
it's a lot of work doing that. I mean, people think because you do it your phone, but it's a lot of work. You have to take time and
it's more work than a lot of people think.
Edit your page and share it and tell it and all that stuff. But I mean, whenever it's ready, we'll share it on our page.
Oh, great! Thank you guys.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So,
Tiff, we got anything coming up?
No, I'll share some of our friends' announcements. Miss Fluffy, you know she.
Shout out to Fluff.
Yeah, she got a little event this Saturday at 405 Washington Street, Waukegan, Illinois. Extremely Ludicrous. November 11th, this Saturday. Sip and Paint.
Okay.
So
at the mic.
Yeah.
Shout out to Miss Annette, the owner of the mic. That is a dope place to go. Check that out.
So go ahead and show support. If you got kids and ain't got nothing to do, I think it's the 12 to 3, I believe.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
go ahead. Cool. I think it's cheap.
It's a cool spot. I think
it's I'm just playing. I'm saying.
I think it's
like,
a small
how much
donation.
Is that?
It's like a small donation, like $5 or something like that.
Yeah, so they're providing food and paint and all that stuff so your kids can enjoy it.
Yeah, let the kids go out and draw, man, and paint like outside of school. Let them do some cool shit.
I'm trying to think something else. I don't know. Do you have anything?
No, I ain't got shit.
Oh, you working real hard out here. You over here.
Yeah. Shout out to Yashin.
Yeah.
Shout out to Miss Tanisha. Shout out to Miss Shaquita. Shout out to DJ Double L. Working on the project with them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is what, episode 38, right?
Yeah, maybe 39. Yeah. So,
wow.
Well, before you go, I gotta ask you, what are you thankful for? Because this Thanksgiving is coming up. So,
what am I thankful for?
Yeah, this Thanksgiving.
Thankful for a lot, Tiff.
Right.
We'll spend them out there.
Right. We got time.
I'm thankful for all of my blessings.
There we go.
Right. My family. Your ugly self. And just being back and being surrounded by people that I know, love and support me and my family.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah. What about you, Tim?
I just have to be alive. You know what I'm saying?
I heard.
I'm blessed to have both my parents here. A lot of my friends, some of my friends have lost their parents and stuff. I'm just blessed to have them, and just a good family, good support, and health. I'm able to do what I want to do. You know what I'm saying? So
same here. I'm thankful to be alive. Another day above ground is something to be thankful for.
Yeah.
Everybody know I'm kind of perky, bubbly anyway, and when I go to work, people be like, "Man, Joe, like, man, like." Like on Monday, they'll be like, "Oh, how you doing?" I'm living the dream, and they're like, "No, I don't believe it." It's like, shit, you don't realize how good you got it, bro.
Yeah.
Somebody didn't get up. Somebody could be in the hospital.
Right.
Somebody could be going through that chemo shit. You know what I'm saying? It's, man, when you lose people that's around your age, yeah, bro, I'm living the dream. Because I get to take my son to school. I get to laugh and joke with my daughters. I get to see my wives when I get home. I get home cook meal.
With the wives.
I'm just saying.
That's another episode, Jay.
You know what I'm saying? But every day above ground is something to be thankful for, man.
Yeah.
Real talk. We gonna wrap the show up. Before we get up out of here, man, we gotta give a big shout out to the man behind the machine, the wonderful wizard, Mr. Mark motherfucking Yoder. Any rappers, singers, producers, anybody doing anything, Mark can bring your dreams to real life. Any poets, anybody, graphic designers, anybody doing anything, holler at Mark, Illinois Media Group. He can make your dreams come true. If you're a rapper and you're tired of recording in your grandma's basement with the McDonald's cups stuck to the wall in the bathroom, holler at Mark. If you mention Episode 38.
Right.
Mark will give you a $5. Oh shit!
We getting up there.
Oh shit! Mark said he'll give you $5 off your first hour. That is for the low price of $45.
Right.
Was it $2 last week, right?
It was $2.
We getting up there.
We
Stop
getting up
growing.
there.
Stop growing.
Stock going up. Woo, shit. Also, before we go, I have to give a big shout out to my cousin Joyce Walford, who finished her last chemo treatment today. I love you, cuz.
Yay.
I love you, cuz. That is something to celebrate. You keep fighting like